Hi everyone and welcome along to Sonic Academy with me, Chris. Today we're joined by a British producer, DJ, actor and now tech startup entrepreneur. He has just launched his new venture Tune, which I'm really excited to hear more about. He's also here today to talk to us about his productions and DJ life. Would you please welcome to Sonic Academy the one, the only, Gareth Emery. Hi Gareth, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing, Chris?
I'm good. Thank you very much for joining us this morning from your studio in LA. I know it's very, very early in the morning there, and you've just finished breakfast with the kids.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, with two kids, 8 a.m. is not that early. This is kind of like the third or fourth hour of my day, so no, it is cool.
It feels like midday to you, so it does.
Yes, exactly.
Look, I'm here primarily to chat about your new venture, Tune.
Yeah.
What it's all about, because it's a radical departure for getting artists streaming services and getting artists paid. So I'm going to take this quite in kind of basic. So you know, for those that don't understand, we want to get as many people to understand this new sort of technology and what it can do. So in broad terms, just to get us started, what is Tune.co?
In broad terms, it's kind of a blockchain-based streaming platform which is designed to get artists paid fairly and in a reasonable time frame with very few intermediaries. I can drag on a bit when talking about Tune, so feel free to jump in if I'm not making any sense, because you know I've spent the last 5 or 6 years doing blockchain stuff. I've been really, I got into Bitcoin in like 2013, so it's been like a long time hobby, a long time passion for me, and I do sometimes forget like that's not the case for everybody, and I've had a few people go like, whoa, I don't understand a fucking word you're saying. No, I mean, look, right, you know, you'll know as well as me how difficult it is to get paid. Not just getting paid fairly, but getting paid at all. Yeah. It's just been, like, it really blew my mind when I first got into the music industry. And obviously, this was like 2002, 2003, so it wasn't quite the glory days of like Agnelli and Nelson first records, but things were still pretty all right, and it just amazed me hoops we had to jump through to get our money, right? You know, you have it goes through your label, then it goes to a publisher, then it goes to MCPS, PRS, PPL, all of which have their different systems, all of which account to each other on these like rolling 6-month basis, which essentially means that it takes you years to actually see your money, and you probably never see all of it. And as we kind of moved into this world of like digital distribution, I think these systems we have just became more and more outdated. Right, essentially we have an architecture in the music industry for paying people which was set up in the days of sheet music and jukeboxes, and it's never ever been updated. So what we kind of wanted to do, and by the way, you know, this Tune could have been done at any point in the last 20 years. The only thing that's allowed us to, what will hopefully allow us to make a success of it this time, is that we can bolt blockchain technology to it, which allows you to radically incentivize it for artists. So, you know, some of the cool stuff that Tune does, what I'm most excited about, we have something called smart record contracts. So, you know, typically, if I make a record with somebody, I'm often relying on them getting paid and then paying me like my cut out of the backhand, which very rarely comes, or maybe it comes like years later or whatever. So what's kind of cool with Tune is royalties get paid every single day at the end of each day, as opposed to every year, 18 months or 2 years, and royalties for tracks are immediately split up. So if I make a track with, say, Ashley Warbridge, I can put on there's a 50-50 split, 50% me, 50% Ashley, and the royalties just get split between the two of us daily, and you can do that for as many people as you like. So that's kind of the, you know, some of the biggest benefits for artists out of the box, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff there. For instance, like remixes, right? It gets really interesting when we get into remixes. It means that I could put up a track and say anybody is allowed to remix this track on a 50-50 split with me. So somebody can grab the parts, they can remix it, and the contract just says 50% goes back to me, 50% goes to them, or whatever percentage I want it split up. And we for a long time had this issue with SoundCloud where they have to be so on it in terms of copyright violations. Often remixes you've done yourself get pulled down because the original happened to be on some label. So go for it.
I was going to ask you that. How do you stop the copyright violations? How are you going to stop somebody putting up bootlegs? And I know you say you use grace notes, but that's not going to catch everything. And my immediate thought was, you're circumnavigating the big boys here. They're going to go, we want to take this line. He's a disruptor. He's wanting to disrupt our industry. So they're going to come after you, aren't they, heavily?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think where we have set things up right from the start was, just said, we're not dealing with any material that's owned by other people. We want to deal with artists only, because we don't want any intermediaries and middlemen kind of in the process taking artists' money, be that societies, labels, publishers. Like, if you don't own 100% of your work, you can't upload. So everything does get scanned. I'd say most stuff, and there's very, very clear warnings, you must own this stuff. Most stuff has been picked up. And in terms of other stuff, in a legal sense, people are very sort of flagrantly breaching, the terms. So it's just a case of us just getting it down quickly. That's kind of our legal obligation. We've fortunately got a pretty good community of people who know how it works, who will kind of come and say, oh, that's got a sample in, that shouldn't be up. So we've been pretty quick on it. But, I think you see a service like SoundCloud, right? And where it kind of went wrong for those guys, their approach was just put up whatever. Doesn't matter if it's licensed, doesn't matter if it's owned by the major labels. And when the major labels did come knock, they essentially destroyed the service. And they also made sure that they monopolized all of the money coming out of it. I mean, I don't know how many plays on SoundCloud, upwards of 10 million. I've never made a penny from SoundCloud. And, I've got 1.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify, and I'd probably struggle to make minimum wage from the amount of money that those royalties pay. And it's not a case that there's no money in streaming music. So it's pretty much a $20 billion industry. It's a pretty large industry. Just the cash is going to the wrong people. So...
Because Spotify's all weighted, isn't it? Because majors own it and stuff, so it's all geared towards those guys. They're starting to monopolize Spotify. You want a more democratic society in this. Let's get down to
Spotify's run for the benefit of the major labels, like you say, because they own Spotify. They gave chunks of the company to the majors at the start, which to me is mad, right? Why would you give a chunk of your company to the very people you were looking to disrupt? But they needed catalogue. But the thing I always say about Tune is, at least in the first 3 or 4 years, Tune's not set up for the Ed Sheerans and Dua Lipas and Calvin Harrises. It's the next generation of those people. Anybody that's like, I don't give a shit about Elvis or the Beatles. Anybody that's already locked into that old system, they're done. Yeah. Because they don't own copyright to their own stuff. That even includes me, because I'm in a long-term publishing deal. I don't own copyright to my own material for the next 2 years. It's really the people who are starting from scratch. They've just written their first big record, be it pop, electronic, and they're going, what is the best route for it? Do I go and sign my life away, or do I do it via something like Tune, where I retain complete ownership, I can leave at any time, and I get paid much more quickly?
So let's talk about getting paid. Let's talk about notes and what are notes, and how you trying to sort of read the white paper today. You're going to mine, is Tune the company going to mine 2 billion notes and then distribute those over 10 years? Half of going to you guys for running the company, and half going to artists. Can you get us to a real one, sort of how notes work?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the bit where it gets a little bit complex, because we delve into the world of blockchain and crypto, but I'll try and get over it as quickly as possible. Obviously, the white paper, for anybody that's really interested, it's a good 30 or 40 pages long, but I think it's mostly interesting. Right, the cool thing about cryptocurrency and blockchain is that you can power a company by creating your own individual tokenized economy, whereby you create a payment token, which then sort of runs your ecosystem under the hood. So, the most classic example is Bitcoin. Now, when Bitcoins first were getting mined back in sort of 2011 era, it was really, really easy to get Bitcoins. You could run a regular computer, open up a Bitcoin node, and you would collect, I think, 25 Bitcoins at a pop, now worth about $200,000. So at the start with Bitcoin, they were really easy to get. They weren't worth very much. And then as the years went on, they became harder and harder to get as the level of competition increased, but the coins became worth more and more. So our equivalent is notes. So we've created 2 billion notes. 1 billion of those gets distributed out to artists over the next 10 years. So that works out initially at 375,000 notes every single day for the first 5 years. Then after that, it starts to go down. But every day, 375,000 notes get distributed to the network, and that's split pro rata across all the artists using it. So if you get 50% of the stream today, you get 50% of the notes. There's no different royalty rates for bigger, smaller artists. It's equitable, one rate across the board. And then the other 50%, we keep, I think, about 12%, and then 25% we sell in a pre-sale, which kind of funds the company, which is typically how companies in the crypto fund themselves. So rather than giving away equity, you sell a small chunk of the token base to people that believe that it's going to have utility in the future. Which sort of funds your company.
Would it be fair to say you can think of these notes in the pre-sale as shares, as one note is one share? Is it kind of is that a good way to think of it?
Probably. Well, I think that's how a lot of people do see it. I mean, we have to be careful in calling them anything like that, because shares give you certain benefits like voting rights in a company. Essentially, you're owners of the underlying company with shares, which you don't get with notes. It is simply a token. However, as the platform grows and more artists join, what you tend to find in crypto companies is the underlying shares of the company are usually less interesting than the token. It's for instance, again with Bitcoin, nobody's going, oh, what company owns Bitcoin? Can I buy shares in them? People simply wish to buy Bitcoin themselves. So what we're kind of finding is that right now we only have about 1,500 artists on the platform, which has grown quickly. By the way, when we launched, it was 2 weeks ago, it was 600. So it's gone up pretty fast. So right now, 375,000 notes get split over 1,500 artists. These are the early stage adopters, right? These guys wanted to be there on day one because they felt there was potential. So right now, these guys are getting to land grab large amounts of notes. Then they're not. So you got it. Yeah, you got it there. And Guy J, who's the progressive DJ, who's top of our chart at the moment. He's just became the first notes millionaire. He has a million notes because he had some unreleased tracks that people were super hyped about from 2 years ago that he's put up, and his fans are just hitting the platform like crazy. So at the moment, people are land grabbing notes. Right, the competition's not too hard. What we're seeing is as more and more artists are joining, there's becoming more and more use to have your music on tune because more artists are bringing more listeners, but the notes are going to get progressively harder to earn. In terms of exchanging them for real money, the moment we finish our pre-sale, which begins on July the 2nd, these things become traded on crypto exchanges throughout the world. So you can withdraw them from Tune, and because it is a cryptocurrency, the moment you withdraw it from Tune, we have no control over it. The moment you say, hey, I'm withdrawing that to the Ethereum network, it's gone, we can't get it back. You then own those tokens and you can hang on to them and see what happens with the price. It might go up, it might go down, or you can go and sell them on a crypto exchange and go and basically cash them out of the crypto economy and turn it into real money. At the moment, because this technology is so new, it's a bit of a pain. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit of a convoluted route to get it into your bank account, but it's very, very doable. We're also looking at ways that people can cash out more easily. So we had a company approach us recently that want to build an infrastructure that kind of allow people to take their notes on Tune and essentially load them onto like Amazon gift certificates and stuff like that, which would be very simple, 1 or 2 click process. So if you have, $500 worth of notes, bang, 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 all of a sudden it's on an Amazon gift certificate, which you can apply to your account and spend on real stuff. And one of the issues in the crypto economy we've had so far, just in cryptocurrency in general, it's kind of hard getting your money from crypto into government-backed fiat currency. So we really want to make that as easy as possible.
But I mean, that's not a problem with you guys. That's a problem with cryptocurrency in general, isn't it? It's trying to, where's the income generated from? Where's the source? Are you bringing it into a tax jurisdiction and on all those sort of things that come with it? Is it hard to persuade somebody like Guy J to come on to Tune and go, look, you can't have publishers, can't have a record label, can't even be part of rights societies. Is this going to present you with real issues? Because I'm really curious, and I've got a couple of tracks that are just sitting there going, I should throw up here and just see what happens, and get to understand the whole process, because I'm hugely fascinated by it. So is it hard to persuade people like Guy J to come on?
Guy J he sort of already knew a little bit about the crypto world, so he was somewhat of an easier guy to get into it. And the rights societies is actually a lot easier outside of Europe. So what we typically find is like the North American societies, for instance, they work on an opt-in basis. So you register a track with them. If you don't register it, they don't claim ownership over it. They don't collect it. So they're actually fine with artists just declining to register one track with them if they want to put it on Tune. The European ones are a bit more difficult because they will, like say, I think PRS will take ownership over all of your stuff, whether you register with them or not. The only way to get out of it is by switching off all digital collection for them, which I think for a lot of artists is worth it. I think for artists, they've really got to look at what they make currently from these organizations, and if it's pretty decent, at the moment you probably want to stay with them. And I've always tried to be as honest as possible and say, listen, Tune is right now super early stage. It's very young. It's not for everybody, and if you're unsigned, unpublished, no copyright societies, and you've got some people that listen to your music, you're probably in a good place to at least throw up one track, collect some notes, and ultimately, if this thing blows up, as we're all working hard to make sure it does, it's going to work out really well for you. And if it doesn't, you really lost very little, because what you make in the legacy music economy is very little. So it's kind of, generally speaking, it's the smaller artists who are going all in, whereas the likes of Guy J, they've got a few that they think work, and it's more of an experiment for them.
Perfect. And so if I want to go on, I need to contact PRS and deselect completely from them. Can I not opt out one track from them?
No, the UK ones do not allow you to opt out one track, which is really frustrating. They insist on
all or nothing,
collecting everything. So you have to opt out of all digital, which means they don't collect from Spotify or anything like that. So that's the current state of play. I do see down the road us being able to do deals with these sort of organizations, and we've already had a couple of major label publishing companies get in touch and say, hey, we're really interested in Tune, can you come in, we want to talk about the technology, how we can get our music on there. So there's already been a fair amount of buzz with labels. I just need to make sure as the representative of all the artists that are on there, that we're doing deals that when we're in a position of strength, that are going to reflect the artist's rights fairly. And one thing that we're really against is giving notes to anybody to hold for somebody else. So we've had a couple of labels get in touch and say, hey, we'd love to put our catalogs on Tune. And we're like, we don't have a label functionality right now, but down the line, we're very, very open to it, as long as your contracts are loaded into Tune, so it's the, whatever your split with the artist is, that's happening at source, at day one, and the artist, and not relying on you to collect income for them. Now other labels have gone, hey, but we own these guys' work, so just give us all the notes and we'll pay it to them down the line. And we're like, hey, you as well as me know that doesn't always happen.
Yeah. I mean, and you're just come back and you're just regurgitating the same old shit that you want to get rid of. You want to go, and what's the problem with going at source in your smart contract, going, you guys own 70%, the artist owns 30%, you get paid at source, you're getting a count to at the end of every day. Everybody, I don't understand why this can't happen in this day and age. I'm like you, we get a count to 2 every 6 months on December, and then it takes them another 90 days to actually send you the account. Because they have,
it's just like 6 months to put it together, and they pay you. It takes 3 months to pay you after that.
And it's just like, it's seriously, in 2018, is this where we are? And you give up again. I think a lot of young guys got into they were signing tunes in 2007, 2008 for €300 advance, and that in their mind was it. Forget about the rest of the track. That I got my advance, I'm not getting any more, and that again is wrong. I love this. I love the fact that it's a dashboard. It's paid every day. The only issue is, as you say, converting from notes to actual hard currency. I'm sure my wife at the end of every month going, how much have you made, honey? And I go, well, we've got 500 quid in Amazon gift cards. She's going to go, fuck off, So, but I know these are all technical issues that you're going to iron out. How did this all come about? What was the moment that you thought? Did you meet guys or a team that was developing this, or is this something that you have thought of yourself?
I've always hated the way we had to get paid in music, and particularly like say these statements that 6 months.
The way we don't get paid in music is what you meant.
The way we don't get paid, 6 months, then it's 90 days, but then you also get this cascading effect, because if my record label licensed to a compilation, they pay my record label on the 6 months, 90 days, and then my record label paid me on it. So things just cascade to the next accounting period. And I've always thought it was just ridiculous, and people would go, oh, you need neighbouring rights, and I don't understand any of this shit. Like, I've never understood it. I just wanted to fucking make music, and by the way, I'm really fortunate because I get paid to DJ, and which is why, for me, I'm kind of all right as long as I want to carry on touring. What has really saddened me over the past 20 years is seeing our industry, for the guys who don't want to tour, just completely disappear. 15, 20 years ago, you could have a pretty good career as a producer. In fact, I knew producers who made so much money, they used to say, why do you want to be a DJ? It's all about producing, the good old days of Ministry of Sound compilations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've just seen us lose so many of those good guys because and girls, because the money just was not there. But now, maybe they're teaching music, maybe they're working on films and like film production or something like that. And I would just love to bring back an industry where artists can make money for making music without going and touring it, without having to go and ghost produce for somebody else. I'd love to see that. How it kind of got so crypto's been a big thing for me, and my co-founders started this project called CryptoPunks, where they basically created 10,000 randomly generated bits of art and gave out proof of ownership on the Ethereum blockchain. So rather than having an ownership certificate, you had it on the blockchain, and then you could sell it, put it up for auction. It was pretty cool, very experimental project. And my wife has an art gallery here in Los Angeles, so I got in touch and said, hey, your project's awesome. Imagine if you worked with some established artists, they would go mad. And we kind of got talking, and at first it was going to be an art project, and then it turned out these guys were really into music. They'd done a bit of electronic music themselves, as well as being hardcore blockchain developers, and it just started to become apparent to us that there was a bigger opportunity in the music industry. None of the legacy streaming platforms make money. Spotify loses more money every year. SoundCloud, SoundCloud gets less and less profitable each year. Pandora never turned a profit, and there was this light bulb moment. I was like, how on earth do these companies not make money? They are selling digital goods that are distributed via bytes of data. They don't have to put a CD in a jiffy bag or anything, and it sounds obvious, but the product comes to them ready made. So when I upload a track to Spotify, I am the one who's paid for the composition, the recording, the mastering, so they have no production costs. They're selling, and they can't make profit. I was like, why is that? Because of this crazy rights system of all the middlemen and all the people that are having to pay. And at that point, it was like, why don't we build something without any of that? The way it would kind of be, I think, if we invented the music industry today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you think does that scare you that Pandora, that Spotify, SoundCloud? I mean, SoundCloud's woes have been well documented, and in fact, I think it's kind of come through the other side and a little bit better for it. But I still use it as a discovery tool. And there's this disparity. Then again, YouTube is paying really terrible rates. And nobody's saying anything about that because it's it's such big exposure for artists, and it's back to the video. Why do you think you can do it where they can't? And these are big companies with lots of supposedly great experts on the board and stuff, and they can't turn a profit. Why do you think Tune can?
Just because we're really the only ones, I think, and there are some others, by the way, in the blockchain world who are smaller, I think, with less good teams, but we're really the only ones who have not tried to, we're not trying to bolt a solution onto the existing music industry. If we'd done this 3 years ago, we would have started out and gone, right, we need to go make deals with all these worldwide copyright societies, we need to make deals with all these record labels, and that is essentially, I think, why these services are doomed to failure. But the reason why Spotify is not profitable is not because it doesn't get lots of money from people. The reason it's not profitable is the amount of money it pays to rights holders. That's the reason none of these companies make money, because of rights holders, and rights holders are not artists, they're labels. If we look at record labels, there are some which have a really good ability to create great music, particularly in the world of electronic, and those will continue to thrive. But the major labels, I mean, you look at why you'd signed to one 15, 20 years ago, and the reasons just don't exist anymore. I mean, I would want to sign to a label back in the day for distribution, because getting your CD or vinyl into tens of thousands of stores across the world was really fucking hard. Mm-hmm. No way you'd do that without a label. And they'd pay for you to go into a studio and record. Well, these days, 500 quid laptop will do everything that Abbey Road Studios does. Mm-hmm. That we just don't have a need for them, but yet they have this iron grip on money because it's survival. It's the way they stay in existence. So
Does it make you nervous going up against these guys?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of mad, right? Because I'm burning bridges with people who, but I'm not really part of the major label system. So for me, that's all right, because at least for me in income, most of my money comes from live. Spotify, a little bit nervous. But there's people on our team who have much more skin in that game. I mean, one of our advisors, Mark Gillespie, is Calvin Harris's manager. He's found Calvin on MySpace. He's cool. He's literally the embodiment of the old school music industry. And the moment he heard about Cheat, he was like, right, I want to be on board. I want to join the advisory board. I want to help you. And I was like, you do realize this is kind of against the system that you've been in your entire life. And he was like, yeah, he goes, I just see something about it and I want to come and change it. So it's nerve-wracking, but I think good things usually are a little bit scary.
I think it's hugely exciting what you're doing. It's hugely honourable as well. This whole for the artist by the fans. It's this connection, getting rid of all these middlemen that have been there for years. That, like you, I never understood, and it was a shock to me when we got on 140 compilations with our first single, and we were I mean, in those days you were getting £1,000-2,000 advance per compilation, so it was, and you're going, yes, we've got the money, and then you get a royalty statement 3 years later and you go, well, that's gone. Our current contract for all our digital stuff, I think we have at least 50%, if not more, packaging deductions for digital sales.
Which is absolutely
packaging deductions for digital sales, and that infuriates me. Just that's horrible, and that is plainly ripping you off to your face. Just going, and you go and appeal. You go and appeal to the guys and go, well, this is wrong, and they go, well, that's what you signed, and you're going, right.
Well, they also say you can audit us if you want, but an audit is tens of thousands of pounds in accountancy fees, and the money we're typically chasing is probably not that. So it's like.
And I know somebody that did audit a label, and they put every block in their way, and it took 2 years. And it's just that game, that moving the goalpost so that you run out of money before they do, and that's the end.
And it's like, who's going to order their record label? You're probably like, because especially if like the record label's like a powerful one, like you go and audit them, fine, you might get a bit more money, but you'll never be releasing them in the future. And it's like the system is just designed so you accept what you're given. It's like, here's the crumbs off the table. Be grateful for those, and don't think about asking for more.
I'm actually so glad you said that. That's exactly what it is. Be grateful for what you get, and most artists are so enthralled about their careers, they will do it, and just to get exposure and just to get their music and the passion out there. And yeah, look, I'm so glad you're doing it, and somebody's doing it, and somebody's thinking about it in a completely different and radical time. And I genuinely, everybody here wishes you all the very best with it, because we're a tiny company trying to make world-class plugins going up against these big companies, so we know the fight that's in you. Let's move on quickly to productions and start getting under the hood of studio. Do you have one studio in LA? Do you have it in the house? Do you have a couple of studios in Manchester and stuff? What's your setup?
So this is my LA studio that I'm sitting in right now. It used to be my garage. We knocked down the garage, rebuilt this. The garage was the right size, but it only had an 8-foot ceiling, and I wanted to build a room inside a room to have it fully soundproof. So we knocked it down, rebuilt this. This was 2013, right? So it was the peak of the electronic music boom in.
Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
The peak of the music thing?
2013, peak of the electronic music boom in the United States, and I, to be honest, was making too much money, and I spent more money on this than I really should have. It's basically a commercial grade control room. I got this guy called Vincent Van Haff, who's he's sadly passed away now, but a legendary Hollywood studio designer to design the room in terms of the dimensions and stuff. It's a room inside a room, completely soundproofed. Because I've got neighbours over there. The funniest thing was, the day I finished it, after spending all this money on the studio, I finally met my neighbour on the other side, and she is 102 years old, deaf as a post.
Brilliant. You're just going, why did I spend all this money? Although
this is where I am now. It's a grey sounding room. I mix well in it, but round the world, I'm just on my fucking laptop. Even if I'm in like another city, I don't tend to seek out studios, and I tell people, this is a fucking great sounding room, and it's seriously fancy. I absolutely do not need it to make good music. All my early shit was made extremely basic equipment.
And what DAW do you use? What's the choice?
I'm Cubase.
You're Cubase? That's old. And how did you start in Cubase? Because you started sort of early 2000s, so that's a strange one. It's usually Ableton.
Well, I was on PC. Yeah, I was on PC at that point. It was pre-Ableton, so that wasn't interesting. And at that time, if you were PC, really, you went for Cubase, and if you were Mac, you went for Logic. My early stuff was done in programs like Sonic Foundry Acid and Reason. And when I wanted a proper DAW, I went into Cubase. I have a working knowledge of Ableton, and at a stretch I could knock together a tune in it. And to be honest, if I was starting today, I probably would use Ableton. I don't like the look of the thing, but it's got so many great benefits, like no fucking dongles and copy protection and all that stuff. But it's better the devil you know. And
see, I started in Cubase. I started years ago in Cubase, and I've talked about this before. I miss it to this day. I still miss some of the MIDI editing and stuff. Is the most superior MIDI editing, and I was so fast on it. And then I stupidly heard that BT used Logic in 1999 at the height of it, and I decided I'm going to Logic, and then spent a year and a half trying to work out how to fucking use Logic, and going.
So you still use it now?
I still use Logic now, but we have Protoculture and stuff would do courses for us. He uses Cubase, and I look at it and go, Jesus, I love that. That looks really nice again. And
it's a pleasant application to spend time in. It looks beautiful. Not as intuitive as, say, Ableton for loops and throwing together beats, but for me, primarily what I'm good at is, like MIDI editing, right? I very rarely play anything unless I really don't know how it should sound. Like for me, it's moving around notes on a screen most of the time. That's how I started out, because I didn't have a keyboard, so the only way I could do stuff was moving around notes on a screen. So, and Cubase is great for that.
It's brilliant. What's the synth of choice? If you have one synth in your studio, what would it be? What's the first one you open up?
I mean, if I'm demoing stuff up and I just need something quick and dirty, probably Silent, because it's the quickest way to get to the sound I need. But I like Spire. I like Nexus. Nexus gets a bad rap. I think there's a lot of great stuff that's kind of undiscovered in Nexus. You just need to make sure that you're adding your own effects and just not using the ones they come with, to make sure it doesn't sound like everybody else. Omnisphere for pads and stuff.
And
big.
What about Serum? No Serum?
Yeah, I tried it in the early days, and I struggle getting my head around it. It probably will run better now on my computer than it did then. But it was a pretty amazing sounding synth. I didn't really stick with it.
It seems there's just something there. A lot of people love it. There's just an edge to it, or something that I kind of just doesn't sit with me. I can't get it sounding warm and big and stuff, but dubstep guys can certainly get it.
They're crazy about it.
Is there a secret weapon plugin, a little left field plugin that we might not think of, that is a kind of your secret, like something that maybe does interesting delays or effects or vocal chains, or something that you can reveal?
I see. I'm going to tell you the lesser known ones I use, but nothing is particularly less known. I mean, I always think in the studio, right? What makes me reasonably effective is, particularly with vocal tracks, is my ability to put the right things around a vocal and allow a vocal to shine, rather than any particular crazy technique. I mean, I love, I throw sausage fattener on everything. The Dada Life plugin, well, not everything, but it's a great way to get things fattened up. The compressor I really love, particularly on vocals, is the Sony Oxford compressor, one of the most beautiful transparent compressors. Also a great plugin they make called Oxford Involution, which is great when you finalize your mix, because it really allows you to shape the transients of like claps and stuff like that. So just when you have a clap and it's getting buried by like the compressor on the mix, it can just allow you to just bring out like a little bite in it. So that's lovely for mixing. Reverb I love is lesser known one called Valhalla. I think everyone knows like the Lexicons and Art Acoustics, but the Valhalla room reverb is pretty much on. It's a great sounding room reverb. Most room reverbs I hate, and this one sounds lovely on drums and stuff like that. Obviously, it was quite unknown when I first started using it. I imagine everyone knows it now. LFO Tool. If anybody is side chaining any other way other than that, like they probably would present a more efficient route. Are
you from a musical family? I mean, your sister writes as a performer.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. So my sister does electronic music as well. My mum played guitar. No, I wouldn't say like a lot of people in my family were musical. Nobody like super commercially successful or anything like that. And the funny thing was, we had this piano in our house when I was growing up. Nobody played it. It was just there because my parents had bought like an old piano from a junk store, because they wanted to have like, they thought it was cool to have a piano in the house. And I would just start fucking around on it. I was like 4 years old, I think, when I first started playing it, and I've just had the ability, even as a young kid, to play by ear, which is still my thing. I've never been good at sight reading. I'll just jump on it and start playing music, and obviously they were like, oh yeah, he's got an aptitude for this, let's put him through lessons. So then they sent me through the classical training and stuff, which I hated but did, and it probably gave me some useful foundation. And then after that it was playing guitars in bands and stuff like that. So it's been pretty much a constant since a young age.
I mean, you can tell you're very prolific. The with your albums and stuff. Do you still think, with having changed with tune and approaching that, do you still think the album format has legs, or is that something that you're changing your opinion on?
I definitely think the album format has legs as long as there's a message and you've got something to say and it works as an album as well as a collection of singles. And you know, even when I was doing my last 2 albums, people said to me, oh, the album format's dead, why are you doing an album? And I'm glad I pushed through with those projects because they both ended up doing really, really well. I think with an album though, it's more of an like sort of an emotional investment. Like if you've just got 10 singles, don't put them on an album, release them as 10 singles. That's what they are. That's where they make more sense. An album is really there if you want to tell some sort of story. So like, you know, Drive, which was my like second one, 2014, I'd done a drive across America for our honeymoon. We drove from New York to LA, and I was like, I want to fucking make an album that tells this story. I want to write the music that I would have wanted to listen to on the way, and I want the imagery for the album and the cover to be this like America West Route 66 type thing, and that allowed us to like tell this whole story, which was exactly where I was at that time in my life. You know, I've now done 3. There probably will be a 4th. I just don't know when. I'm not much of one of like recycling the same format over and over again, so I definitely will come back to the format, but it'll be when I've got something to say, and I just haven't got that for an album right now.
Let us move on to briefly again your how can I put the act that you have with Ashley Walbridge? How can we taste
it? It's CVNC5.
That's the one. Okay, so
save you having to bleep it out.
Yeah, is there? Did I read somewhere that there's a sitcom coming? There's an actual show coming.
Yeah, so it was a long story. I mean, basically we made the first music video. CVNC5, which was a parody on the world of dance music and kind of commercial EDM at the time. And by the way, we were in part laughing at ourselves. A lot of the stupid shit I was laughing about, I had done. So a lot of people.
Did you shit a Marshmallow's head?
No, I haven't actually shat in his helmet. No, they'd probably hate me even more if I'd actually done it. They took the joke badly enough.
Oh, did they?
But yeah, they didn't take that. And to be honest, the shitting in Marshmallow's head in hindsight was a little infantile. I probably wouldn't have done that one with hindsight. But the first music video, I am really proud of. I felt it was a really cool video. It was kind of, you know, we're lucky, like you and Armin come and do a little cameo at the end. It was super fun. But people were always like, oh yeah, it's great for you fighting this battle against these. I was like, it's not a fucking battle. I don't give a shit what they do. Yeah. I'm just, if something's fun, like I'm gonna have a laugh about it. So we made the video, and then Verizon, who have a network called Go90, had seen it, and they came to us and said, yo, like, you want to make a TV show for us? We want to do 8 episodes, 22-minute episodes. We'll fund this thing to the tune of like $2.5 million. And I was like, what, you're gonna give us $2.5 million? No, we're not gonna give it to you. We'll give it to a production company. And the production, I was like, oh, right, okay then. Well, so basically we wrote an 8-episode TV show. It was basically my life for about a year, writing this fucking show. You know, I was lead actor in it, and it was an amazing life experience. I would never do it again. Like, actors so fucking hard. Like, it's a really fun show, and it actually, I believe it comes out next month. It's been, you know, it takes so long to make anything happen in TV. The amount of cooks in the kitchen, you know, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody wants to change stuff. I think we made a really good show, and I think that, you know, we had a Emmy-nominated director do it, like a really good team of people, some awesome actors. It was just a really stressful experience. And what started as a bit of fun with me and my mates just turned in this overblown project. We had 50 fucking people on set. Everybody fell out. Like, the arguments that came from that show are still fucking rolling on. So like, it was just, this project, as you can probably tell, like, I'm like, fuck me. Like, it's taken years off my life. Like, the only good thing that came out of it was, I think the show's really good and people are going to enjoy it. 1 season, because I'm not doing another one, and that's that.
You say that, but when you get a daytime Emmy for the funniest sitcom, you're going to go, we'll do season 2. I like you. I ended up working in TV and in comedy, for a while behind the scenes.
Right, yeah.
And so I know exactly how long it is. It can sometimes be the most boring thing in the world, sitting around waiting for a lighting guy and sound to check things and extras and where's this actor and where's makeup and so and the hours are just outrageous. Like
the hours are savage, and I really it was shit just not seeing my family for that time. I will say the 6-week actual shooting I loved. I mean, as much as the hours are brutal, it's like a family, right? And we were lucky on set. We had a great crew. I love the other people who were acting in it. Got on really well with the camera guys and everything. So for me, it was great. You'd go there, fucking your food's there. You eat unhealthy food. Drink coffee, eat chocolate all day, and also the fact that it was comedy. We're getting to fuck around, right? Yeah. So there'd be takes when it'd be like, you know what? Let's go off script. Here's a fun run, just improvise, and that for me was it was the year of writing and trying to get to the point we could start shooting was just bollocks. Would never want to do that again. And we've also had a year of post-production and music licensing, so if it were just turning up for the 6 weeks, probably would do that bit again. But it's the 2 years that it's kind of sandwiched between, which I wouldn't want to do.
Was there a point where you were sitting on set, having spent 18 months in this, going, what am I doing here? I should be on the plane DJing. How have I got myself into this?
Yeah, and there are times when, and when we had great days on set, it was great. But things going out on Verizon Go 90, it's not a very big platform. I mean, hopefully down the line it ends up on Netflix and Hulu. But we're doing this whole thing, and I'm like, fucking hell, nobody may even see this apart from people on my Facebook. This might be the biggest waste of time ever. I really enjoyed the process of writing for TV. Really want to, I'd love to do more stuff in that world. I just would have to do it in a way where I'm funding it myself or something, so you haven't got all the cooks in the kitchen. But when we had shit days, when I got to go and play shows at the weekend, I was like, yes, back home. Yeah. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. But fuck, you got to try different things.
And you definitely are, between writing sitcoms, starting off disruptive technologies, maybe just go, when you next idea go, do you know what, maybe I'll just put that in the back burner and just, chill out and have a nice life for a few years. What's in store for the rest of the year and sort of further afield? What's the plan for Gareth Emery? Some more music, some more shows, I suppose festival season's kicking off for you?
Yeah, so I'm spending about 6 weeks in Europe for festivals. I think we're bringing the family over, which is going to be awesome. We get to do a bit of grandparent-led babysitting whilst me and the wife go and travel around Europe a bit, which should be cool. And a couple of nice records coming out, no albums, so to speak, but a really nice one called Call to Arms, which comes out shortly, one of Emma towards the end of the year. And then just touring, we have this Laserface project, which is kind of basically just the most ridiculous laser show you've ever seen, because I'm fortunate to have a production tour manager who's a insane laser programmer. So we did a massive show in San Francisco with 400 or 500 lasers, and we're going to be doing that in a bunch of places. I've
seen the videos, and it is just that big epicness of just big moment of just lasers, and we were doing these back in 1996 with lasers. Who thought that in 2018 they'd be bigger than ever?
Well, the thing was, they kind of went out of fashion for a bit, and for a long time I didn't like lasers at shows, so I always found that they never looked good and they'd get turned on at the wrong time. And when I started working with Anthony, he first showed me how he could design a song. So it's not live, he doesn't do it live. Every individual song of mine, even though I'm DJing it live, he's crafted a laser show for every moment. So it's kind of like a choreographed laser show. And then he showed how good they look when you turn off everything else. And he was like, if you turn off the LED wall and if you turn off the lights, then you'll really see the lasers. And once he showed me what he could do, I was like, right, we're going to get some big fucking venues and we're going to give you a chance to really show your skills. And I felt like we kind of took lasers, which had and sort of brought, I think anybody's ever done a show which is we had no LED, it's all fucking lasers. We have very few lights. So that's fun. So we're doing a bunch of those, just 3 or 4. Now we've done the first, it's a little bit easier to do those. And just like you say, trying to find enjoy a life. I mean, it won't sound like it, but I try not to work past like 5:30 p.m. every day because of family and stuff. So it's really just balancing that with touring and finding like plenty of time to be a dad.
Brilliant. Listen, Gareth, it has been so enjoyable talking to you today. I have been a real pleasure because you're a fascinating guy with all that's going on and juggling all those, being a dad, tune, writing sitcoms, DJing, new laser shows. You know, it is pretty exciting times, and it's a real pleasure to have you on Sonic Economy. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Chris. Great. It's been awesome talking, and thanks for giving us a little platform for tune. It's early days, so everything is appreciated. And look forward to seeing it. And send me those plugins, by the way. I'm fucking excited to get on. I will definitely do that. Guys, I hope you all got something from that. I hope you enjoyed listening to me and Gareth whittering on there and enjoyed. And go and check out tune.co. There's a white paper on there. You can go and read up about blockchain and how the whole thing works. It's fascinating. So, guys, I'll see you all very, very soon. Thanks everybody for watching, commenting and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.